So thanks for joining, everybody. We wanted to give you an update from our perspective, at least, in really truly an update as to like how we've changed our business and how we're operating. We feel like there's a lot of information obviously on Facebook. So the stuff that we're going to tell you today is stuff that we're actually doing, the changes that we've made. How we're mitigating risk, and hopefully if you're a real estate investor, it'll help you. If you're active, if you're a passive investor, hopefully it eases your mind. And if you're a homeowner, thinking about real estate investing or just a homeowner period, I think there's still going to be information in here that's going to help you. All right, so we'll get started. Cool. All right, first off, a little bit of a disclaimer. This presentation is intended for informational purposes only and is not advice. We highly recommend everybody to do their own due diligence and consult their respective team of professionals before taking any action. Just like everything you've seen on Facebook, in the news, somebody reads the headline, they put it onto Facebook, and the headline is basically there for bait. It's not necessarily the truth, right? So we just want to make sure that, again, everybody does their own due diligence. Even after this presentation.
Should we say hi to welcome to them later?
Yes, we can. Do you want to do that now?
So just so you guys know, we also have our realtor specialist, Chad Woolsey, with us, and he is going to go through the Barrie market update and chime in at any time if he wants to add any.
I guess that's going to be in like 2 slides, so I forgot about that. Anyway, so our thoughts. So together we are facing a truly unprecedented situation. Obviously, it's like exponentially growing every single day, right? The global COVID-19 pandemic is affecting all of our families, our businesses, our communities, and essentially our entire way of life at the moment. So first and foremost, our hearts go out to anyone who has been impacted by the virus, either directly or indirectly. Our thoughts are especially with those who are sick, to whom we extend our heartfelt wishes for full recovery. We hope the following presentation to all of you guys really helps answer questions and concerns, as well as give some solutions to your current and any potential problem you may have. So our goal here. So this is the stuff that we're gonna try to get out in this presentation. We're gonna go over what we have experienced so far, the good, the bad, the ugly. We're gonna talk to you about what our BK team is doing and what we are not doing. We're gonna go over what is happening with vacancies and placing tenants, and what is happening with renovation projects that we're currently working on. We're going to talk about what is happening with upcoming property purchases that are scheduled to close. We're going to talk about our communications to our joint ventures as well as our tenants. And we're going to talk about, a lot about mitigating risk. We're going to go over tools we are using to continue our progression moving forwards, and how we are staying sane in self-isolation. Sane and not killing each other, I think, is another good point to talk about, right?
Basically.
Yeah. And then last but not least, we're going to tell you what we're seeing from Chad. Actually, Chad's going to tell you what he's seeing and what his team are seeing in the Barrie market as of the last week. If you stay to the end, we are going to have questions and answers, so you have the opportunity to ask us anything, and we'll try to answer with the best of our ability. And then we are going to announce a free online real estate investor Kickstarter training. This training here that you see over here was a live event that we were going to do at the end of March. Obviously, we cannot do that, so we are going to do it at another date, and we'll talk to you about that at the very end. So what do we do know here is that the situation is changing very fast. Like day to day, we were in Florida last Wednesday. We got back. The week prior is kind of when this really picked up pace, and at least in our country. And it seems to be changing hourly, right? Which is kind of important to know that the information that we're talking today may not be as relevant tomorrow if a whole bunch of other rules change. So it is only current up to today. So let's just keep in mind. Everything could change tomorrow. You want to think about what could happen next and prepare for it. That's where we're going. It's like, okay, worst case scenario, what do we do? What do we need to do today to enact today to make sure that if worst case scenario happens, that we're not scrambling, we're not, we actually have something in place to help mitigate some risk. Obviously, we don't have all the answers, but all the information in this update is not, and again, all the information to this update is not to be used as verbatim. again, please do your own due diligence. Okay. So this is just our experience, our interpretation of what we see and what we're doing, right? We're kind of going, everybody's flying by the seat of our pants, trying to like deal with the world that we're living in. And as of last week, this wasn't the way we were living. So everything is moving very fast. So just keep that in mind. So for those of you who don't know us, maybe you just saw us on Facebook, we're going to explain to you a little bit about who we are. So my name's Christy.
He thinks it's such a funny joke. Just don't laugh.
Oh.
Don't laugh.
All right. So Christy and Brady McDonald. We started real estate investing in 2015. We own a group of companies. So we have Live with BK Property Management. This is a company that we started last year. So we have a full service property management company. We have BK Real Estate Investing, which is our main company. And then we have Learn with BK, where we host these types of webinars, online training, etc. Okay, so we've purchased and renovated over $60 million in real estate, over 100 properties, and we own and manage over 200 units. We do lots of renovations, right? So what we're going to talk to you about is going to be how we've been moving forward with our renovation team and crew. We take properties that look like this and turn them into stuff like this. Okay. We do lots of joint ventures. So again, everything we're thinking about when we're doing, we're acting really has, our joint venture partners' best interests in mind. And obviously a lot of communication with regards to that. We've won many awards. And what was the last bullet? And we are real estate investing educators. So just again, to kind of give, just to paint the picture so you know really where we're coming from, our investment strategy is to, number one, we buy single family homes, okay? And we do this with the assistance of a hands-free financing joint venture, right? So we do, we basically partner with people that have money and maybe don't have the time, expertise, experience, etc. And they partner with us, and we split the property 50-50. So our team, then we renovate these into legal multi-unit properties. So we may convert them to a duplex or a triplex or a fourplex, or sometimes we'll buy 5 to 10 unit buildings and completely renovate those. And then the next step's always the same. So once we renovate the properties, then we go back to the bank, we refinance them, okay? So then at the refinance stage, that's when we pay back all the renovation money and then a large portion of the purchase costs, okay? So then after we do that, then we rent it long-term, right? So that allows the property to cash flow, the mortgage to get paid down, right, by the tenants, hopefully, and then for appreciation to happen. So that those are all the activities that our company does. But again, that's just a version of the BRRRR strategy, right? So the buy, renovate, refinance, rent, repeat. So our current situation, I know Christy's not talking a whole lot because I put this presentation together. So she's here for
2 cents.
Yeah, and we'll get to some of the
Keep him
sections.
in line
Yeah.
in case he gets stumbled on a word.
Yeah. Like sometimes introducing myself is the most difficult part.
Yeah.
Okay, so our current situation. So we are currently renovating again. We're telling you this stuff because, there's obviously lots of challenges or potential challenges with all aspects of this because a lot of it's unknown. So we're currently renovating 9 properties. They range anywhere from duplex conversions up to 10plex properties. We have 9 properties scheduled to close before June. So if you're thinking, okay, what's going to happen with the properties that are scheduled to close? We'll talk to you about that. 5 of those I don't have financing joint ventures. So if you want to there is obviously, everybody really doesn't know where this is going to end. But I've been recently in the situation where, we're working with a bunch of investors that probably had 8 or 9 investors ready to go. And then, obviously they start falling off. So I'm going to end up with 5 of these properties that I'm not even going to try to close on, but I am in negotiations with the sellers to make sure that we can make a win-win and just get an extension to a point where in a time where that we have investors that are in a more comfortable position and they're willing to get involved again. So lots going on there. We have 15 vacant units that need tenanting. These are properties where the renovations have just been completed. So we've got a lot of that going on. And then COVID-19 happened, right? Right now we also have 200 plus units that will hopefully pay rent, right? So, that's where we are right now. For now, we don't know, what's going to happen tomorrow, essentially. So, a lot of the moves that we're making are day by day. So our company goal here is obviously to keep everybody safe and healthy. It's really, that's first and foremost with our employees and our staff and our tenants. We want to keep everybody working as long as possible and as much as possible. So we've actually just this morning, one of my concerns is the next step is possibly, like I'm just thinking in my mind and brainstorming. I'm like, what is the worst case scenario here, or the next step? And like, to me, it's, maybe that they shut everything down. Basically, like, I don't know how long they would do that for, but similar to what China did. So if that's the case, my goal here now today is, if that's the case, because we have lots of work, we offered all of our renovation staff that they can work 55, 60 hours a week if they want to, right? So they can bank the time, essentially, as long as the work's getting done, then they can get paid, and they can get paid during, a shutdown. One of our big things obviously is reduce the risks in all aspects of the business, and as much as possible. We want to continue to work as efficiently as possible to maintain projected outcomes. So, like I said, we've got, 9 projects we're working on right now. We've got another 5 or 6 closing in the next month. So our plan is to make sure like whatever we implement today is still going to be able to produce efficiently the projected outcomes that we want, that we were hoping for. We're adapting quickly to challenges. That's one of our goals. We want to communicate well to all parties, especially in times like this. Communication to staff, joint ventures, tenants, etc., is really important to keep everybody on the same page. The conversations, the communications that you're having with all these types of people are obviously, you don't know where their mindset is. Those types of chats and emails can, really lessen the stresses that they're thinking, right? Maybe ease their mind and answer questions. So just like anything, the more you're educated about it, the less you have fear. So the communication factor is really important. So we're going to talk about that a lot with tenants coming up here. So, and at the end of the day, our goal is to help everybody get through this, including yourself. So if you guys can, take tidbits from this and implement it into your business or whatnot, then, that's obviously our goal. So where do we see the risk lie? So obviously, there's a risk that everybody people get sick, employees get sick. We have 2 people currently in self-isolation. So obviously that is something that we're thinking of, and that's very top of mind whenever we're making a move right now. I feel like a lot of the risk right now is lies with non-payment of rent or vacancies. So obviously, if they don't pay rent, tenants don't pay rent, then we still have mortgages, we still have taxes, we still have utilities, insurance to pay. Now, again, we don't know what's going to happen. We'll know on Monday, we'll know on the 1st. Another risk, total provincial lockdown. So again, the risk there would be that we are unable to continue renovations. A real estate market dropping significantly is a risk. Now, I'll talk a bit about that a bit later as well. But the nice thing about the real estate market, comparative to the stock market, is that it doesn't drop drastically like overnight like the stocks market have. So they usually takes 2 to 3 months before you're going to see anything. Now, so that's is comforting, but it's still, nonetheless, it is still a significant risk. And then, obviously unable to close on a property is a risk. So we risk being sued, etc. But anyway, so whenever you're thinking about your risks that you're living and breathing, whether it's within your home or within your business or employment, you want to make sure that you're prioritizing the risks that are the highest risk, obviously, and the ones that you can control and mitigate, and also the ones that are most time sensitive, right? If you can't control the risk and mitigate it, then don't focus on it, right? Focus on the things that you can do. Focus on the worst case scenario. So like my real the thing that I feel is the highest risk today, because again, time sensitive, is definitely non-payment of rent. So we don't know what's going to happen on the 1st, but we're doing everything that we can today to make sure to minimize that and to have options that we can enact to help prevent, loss, right? So as far as renovations go, what are we doing with renovations? So we have 9 projects underway or about to start. Our one office manager is working from home, which is fine. We're able to still carry on. I'll talk to you about, how we're able to do that here shortly. So the renovation staff are still working. One of them is in self-isolation. Actually, 2 of them are in self-isolation, so it's 3 people total. Renovate, yeah, so they're still working either alone or in pairs on job sites. And what we're doing is we're not moving them around. So we're not, mixing everybody up constantly. So, from from this becoming a crisis, the people that have been working together are going to stay working together or by themselves, right? So then if somebody does get sick or show symptoms, we're not putting that, exposing, other people unnecessarily. We're obviously promoting job site isolation, and again, just in the fact that we're not pushing people around a whole bunch of different job sites. Most of the materials are being ordered and via email and delivered, so that's still happening, at least here in Barrie. Home Depot, yep, I'm just gonna look at your question here. Home Depot is still delivering. Sorry, just one sec. Okay, I'm gonna get back to that question at the very end. Most of the materials are being ordered via Home Depot. Like that's where we get. Well, that's one of our main suppliers. Our trim and doors. We talked to another supplier today. There's still shipping to everything else that's going out as per normal. So this is really important. We're trying to obviously make sure that we're trying to capture as many materials this way and minimize the amount of trips that we do have to make to the hardware store. We're applying for new building permits through an online portal. So likely in your municipality, there's a chance that you have this, definitely with the larger municipalities. So, that's not stopped. I know the city of Barrie, you're not allowed to go in. So this is the option, but we've been under email communication with planning and building all last week, and we're still making progress on all aspects. The city permit inspections have been continuing. Last week, they were doing inspections on vacant properties. They wouldn't do an inspection on a property that is tenanted, which makes sense. ESA inspections, we did have an inspection, one inspection last week. It was a final inspection where tenants were in place. So the inspector accepted a video inspection. So we're going to see, I was told by my electrician that this is going to be, he figures by an inspector to inspector basis as to whether or not they're actually going to do the inspections. And then just something to keep in mind that all municipalities are likely operating at different capacities, right? And same with like different hardware stores. So, I would, if you have anything going on, I'd be in constant communication with the municipalities, to see where they're leading to. Like if they're leading towards, shutting down, then you're going to want to know that kind of stuff, right? And obviously hardware stores, etc. So where do I see risks with renovation projects? So I feel the risk is relatively low. It's lower than a tenanted property because we planned for a 2 to 6 month vacancy anyway on all these types of properties. And, I would assume that, most renovation projects are kind of similar. So, we were planning for these 2 to 6 month vacancies anyway prior to placing tenants. So, once we finish the projects and get tenants in place, then non-payment does become a risk. But, right now, I think your question there actually was to whether you start to do the renovations now or hold off. I think the answer depends on how long it's going to take to do the renovation. If you can do the renovation, if your plan is to like renovate it and refinance it, I would start it now. Let's face it, if you rent it as a single family home and you have no rent, you might as well be renovating it, right? And the chances of you not like having that if you leave it as a single family home rental, for example, you are exposing yourself to a lot of risk and you're not making any headway. So I think, it doesn't hurt to start the renovations right now. If you're thinking about refinancing it after, again, if it's the sooner you refinance, obviously the better. We're still having lots of sales out there right now. We'll show you that in the market update. But yeah, so if I was to do it, and actually I've had joint ventures come up to me and say, hey, what do you think we should do? I think we should keep pushing forward, right? Because the sooner we get this done, the refinances are going to be at its highest point as soon as possible. Because then, the risk of the market going down takes time, right? So if it is going to go down, the longer you wait, the worse it could be potentially. The sooner you get the refinance done, I think the better off you're going to be. Hope that answers your question. Renovation budgets factored in carrying costs. So again, that's why in a renovation project, we factor in the carrying costs, the full mortgage payment, insurance, utilities, etc., all this stuff. So again, it's already factored in. It's not going to affect the renovation costs. It gives time for the world to return to normal, right? So, we don't know if this is a 2-month thing, a 3-month thing, a 6-month thing, but at least you're making progress during a renovation. The projected refinance values that we use were $30,000 to $50,000 under current market value. So, if we're doing a triplex conversion and, we projected it'd be worth $720, well, really, I think it's worth $750. That's what comparable sales show. So we still have a nice buffer there. Again, just to mitigate the risk in case this ever happened. I would have never imagined that this was happening. And this is not why I had that buffer, but in this situation, it's going to help. And then this is again just something to keep in mind, that unlike the stock market, the real estate market usually takes months to get to see effects. So again, time is try to get things done as quick as you possible right now. Okay, our admin staff. What's going on with our admin staff? So we have 6 staff working remotely from home. Obviously, I think most businesses are trying to accommodate when they can. This also, just keep in mind for any investors that are thinking about scaling and growing, the ability to from implementing the systems and processes and checklists and forms that allow you to scale your business, that they're the same systems that allow somebody for our company to quickly pivot and send everybody home with a computer and continue on doing what they normally would have done in the office, right? So it's just another reminder to hey, if we haven't got systems in place, now's the time. This is a great time to capitalize on the opportunity. We have extra time to stay. Obviously, we're stuck inside, right? Etc. So they're paying bills, tracking expenses, moving funds around. They're doing payroll. They're doing all the property management service roles, etc. Each of the ladies and the guys took a computer home and they adapted very quickly. We're doing daily video conferencing meetings via Zoom. So that's a tool that you're going to probably want if you're not using it now. It could be great just to have family meetings. But also, with contractors and, if somebody's on site and you want to, if you can do Zoom both on your phone or on your computer, just like the way we are today. So, 90% of our business was conducted online prior to. So we do have, somebody that there's just one person that is going to the office if they need to. So again, it's not an issue with, people infecting each other potentially. So, again, if you're growing business, scaling business, having, a lot of your business online or available on drives, on clouds is really important, especially in times like this. Okay, so advertising vacant units. So what we did was, our staff were amazing. They came up with the idea. They're themselves to pre-record these walkthrough videos on all vacancies. So they were all vacant units where the renovations were just completed. So they used their phone to record them. I believe they did it in iMovie, and they edited them themselves. They're hosted. These videos of all the vacant units are now hosted on YouTube. And so what it's really doing is limiting the exposure and risk to both staff and potential tenants, obviously, because we don't have, let's say one vacant unit, you might have a whole bunch of tire kickers that are just going through there and looking at it and just trying to figure out what they want, you know, and all we would be doing is exposing your staff and them to, you know, possible contamination. So this is we found it very efficient and it will be used when life returns to normal. So we have, this is the process actually, by the way. So we advertise on all the mediums that we normally do, Facebook, Kijiji, all the local Facebook rental pages, etc. on our website, right? We have interested candidates, they contact us, then they send us, then we send them the link to the video, which I'll show you a video here up next. And then if they're interested, they complete an application. So, you know, they're at no point are they going to the property, right? And then once they complete the application, obviously we have a checklist to verify that the application is fully complete. And then we run the application and do all the screening. So, you know, we're doing a lot of Facebook cross-referencing. I mean, we usually do that anyway, but because we're taking pictures of their credit cards, or sorry, not the credit cards, but their driver's licenses, we're really verifying that this person that's applying is actually this person. So we're doing all the screening, running their credit, etc. And if approved, they are signing a lease on DocuSign, and they're e-transferring last month's rent. Okay. So what I'll do, this is just a short 2-minute video, but again, this is showing you, because if you have rental properties, I would highly recommend this. We've had 42 calls for vacant units in the last week. So people are still looking. You'll see when we talk about the Barrie market update, people are still buying as well. So we really want to capitalize on, you know, that to fill that need as quick as possible prior to anybody getting shut. You know, maybe that peters out. Maybe they do a provincial shutdown. So whatever you can do now to really, you know, speed up the vacancy fulfillment process is really important. So here, I'll just play this video just a So you can see, like, the ladies just used their cell phone to do it. But again, you know, we could have paid somebody $500 a month or $500 per video to do this, but it's more important that it's out there now than for it to be perfect. And to be honest, I think they did a pretty close to perfect job. All right, I think we get the gist of it there. So you just keep walking through. Here's the bathroom. Lots of hand soap there. Well, it looks like they moved it for this picture. Okay, so again, you just, like, that happened a day or two after, you know, things got bad. So, you know, just think about what you can do, you know, think about the potential problems that you could have and start trying to dream up solutions, right? I hope that a lot of the what we're talking about today can help you be your solutions. So the tenant move-in process. So we always do a rental unit condition report. Generally, this is conducted by both the tenant as well as our BK staff to move in. So what it does is it verifies all the general condition of the entire property. or of the entire unit, so that, you know, we have a clean starting point. So obviously we don't want to do that in person. So our BK staff is doing it prior to the tenant moving in. The inspection notes are being verified and signed by the new tenant at move-in. So they actually go over it themselves, and they can make comments if they need to, and sign it. So both parties are still seeing it. And then what we're doing is we're putting lock boxes on all units, and that is how the new tenants get access. So again, we're really limiting exposure to both parties. Okay. As far as maintenance and repairs, we are still accepting maintenance requests, but we are not attending any units to make the repairs. So what we're doing is we're logging and prioritizing them. So we are keeping track of them. This is not something we have to go back to. And then we will prioritize them. And when the health officials say that it is okay to go back to like normal life, we will start to complete them at that time. As far as emergencies go, obviously we're still addressing emergencies. Luckily, we haven't had any since this happens. Generally, we don't have a lot anyway. So what is an emergency? Fire, flood, gas leaks, no heat, no electricity. These are emergencies. You know, unless there's a flood. The flood is one area where our staff would go and deal with it ourselves. If there's no heat, these are, you know, we have processes in place to try to problem solve, you know, change the furnace filter, reset the furnace, you know, shut the power off, etc. And then otherwise we're going to be calling an HVAC company to adjust with that. And then no electricity, you know, again, we would diagnose those problems, try to diagnose the issue over the phone as far as giving direction to where the breaker panel is and checking their breakers, resetting GFIs. And if, you know, ultimately if there's no power, then it's going to be, you know, like a utility problem. Otherwise we would have to call an electrician if it's something else. Okay, so this is now non-payment of rent. This is the number one question I think on everybody's mind. You know, and again, I feel like this is one of the highest risk areas that we have to address, and we don't really know what's going to happen. So yeah, most of the risk lies here. So to date, actually, when I made this, there was 2. We have now 3 people that have actually reached out. 3 tenants that have reached out. 1 tenant, so 3 out of over 200 units. So one person said that they can't pay in full on the month on the 1st, but they'll have the other half on the 7th. The second person said they lost their job completely. So I'm not sure. I'll show you what we're going to do in these scenarios here coming forward, going up in the next couple slides. And then the last person, we have actually a hotline that's made available, that we sent out in communication, that's just going to address non-payment of rent or rent issues. Okay, so we don't know, you know, at the end of the day, we don't know what's going to happen. I mean, if we only had 3 tenants call us right now, I think that's amazing. I don't really believe that that's the true sign as to what it's going to be. I mean, we're going to see what happens on the 1st. We must, you know, what we do know is that we need to work together, tenants and landlords. Communication is going to be extremely important, and a lot of what we're going to do, and I'll talk to you about it coming up here, is really to open up those lines of communication. And it also is to, you know, set expectation. And at the end of the day, it's really going to, this is actually the communication between tenants and landlords is really how problems are solved, and the outcomes generally are a lot better than if we just truly are separated. And obviously we need to make sure that we let them know that we are here to help, right? We are all in a really shitty situation, crappy situation. So, you know, and nobody here is at fault. So it's really trying to make the best out of, you know, the crappy place that we're all living in right now. And at the end of the day, we need to all plan and prepare for the worst, right? So, you know, what we are doing today and for the last week is really to plan for non-payment rent. Right. So communication to the tenants, all tenants have received the COVID-19 tenant information document. I'll go over that. It looks like this, right? So what we're doing is we're giving them all the information and the supporting information that they require to get funding, to apply for aid, etc. And then we just implemented a process. It's a BK rent relief form. So this is completed by the tenants who don't pay rent on time, okay? And so this is an internal document to track reasoning to collect proof of unemployment and to agree to payment plans. So I'll just actually exit it on my screen here, and I'll just kind of wheel through, skim through these two documents. And these two documents, for everybody here, if you want them, I'll send everybody exactly these. You just need to take our logo off, or I'll send them without it, and feel free to use it. We actually, I forget who it was on Facebook, they posted this. So we took it, edited it, revised it to our needs. And so I'd expect that everybody on this call can do it the same and share it to everybody, right? So, yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Okay. So, it talks about, the situation that we're dealing with maintenance requests that we're not dealing with them, that, all non-essential maintenance or repairs will be deferred. Rent payments, if they are having problems, and this is their dedicated phone number to call. If they have the inability to pay their rent, again, this is the phone number to call. Let us know in advance. You need to provide proof of suspended employment from your employer, and we'll be able to offer some flexibility. We are still going to serve an N4 notice of non-payment of rent. I mean, that's just, we still have to operate this like a business. So an N4 notice, that for those of you that don't know, is a notice, notice of eviction for non-payment of rent. So regardless of the situation, we always serve this, and it's going to be served on the 2nd, with the hopes that by, the hopes within the next 20 days or whatever, that they actually settle up and pay the rent in full. Once they do that, then the N4 just becomes null and void, right? But at the end of the day, we still need to do that. But as long as they have proof of suspended employment is provided, we are not going to apply to the landlord tenant board with an L1 to have them evicted. Financial assistance. So we're giving them all the information of where they can find financial assistance. Because again, the goal, a lot of these tenants may or may not know, there's a chance that they don't know that there's an assistance program out there and what options they have to help them. Right. So obviously we're trying to give everybody all the information that they require to help themselves, and essentially also help them pay rent. Right. So they have lots of expenses. So, at the end of the day, if we can get somebody on assistance that otherwise had no income, and they're able to pay a little bit of their rent, going forward, or half of it, and still feed their kids, and that's obviously what we want to do. So, it talks about different programs that Union Gas and Enbridge have, Electra, their plans, Midland Power Corporations, talks about EI benefits. So, if you do have, if you are EI eligible or you're not, how do you apply, right? So, hopefully this is all the information that they're going to need, to get the funding that they need to live and get through this time. The next document here is the BK. So this is our in-house relief questionnaire. So it just, if they need relief, if they're not going to be making their payments, then we're going to urge them, obviously, just try to communicate to them and talk to them and try to figure out their situation. But we're going to get them to fill out this form. So, the date, name, address, unit number, phone number, rental amount, when are they supposed to pay their rent? Why can't they pay the rent in full? Have they applied for assistance? Again, it's just because who knows? Like, they may not see that email that we sent, right? So if not, why haven't they applied for assistance? Do they need help in any other way? What can we come to an agreement on the payment plan? What is it? And then what is the proof? Did we receive the proof of documentation received showing that they don't have employment, right? So then here is an agreement that we're writing, that we've drafted up with, again, who they are, why they can't pay, what is the plan to pay going forward, etc. Right? So, I mean, we'll keep you updated. We're gonna do another one of these next week, so I'll let you know. I'm sure by then we'll be having a bunch of these filled out, and we'll try to get the feedback and let you know how it's worked out. So yeah, so we talked about all that. So how are we mitigating risk of paying out of pocket? Right? So mitigating risk of paying out of pocket, or essentially just a complete loss. So deferring mortgage payments. There's been tons of stuff on Facebook about this. We're going to do it. Another thing that you could do is stopping pre-authorized payments of utilities. Again, we're not doing this right now, but if we have to, we certainly will. Another thing is educating tenants on assistance programs and recommend that they apply as soon as possible, right? Whether you're employed now or not, we can all, if you're not employed or you're, like us, don't really have jobs, we just, we could apply as well. We could accept rent payment via credit card. So we've got a Stripe account set up, and it costs 2.9%, but we can actually accept rent via credit card if need be. So we will be utilizing that again to mitigate the risk of paying out of pocket. Staying in communication with the tenants and being flexible, but still operate like a business, right? Serving and force. All of these things essentially are mitigating or lessening the risk of paying out of pocket. So here's been a huge, item of topic, especially on social media over the last week: deferred mortgage payments. So deferred, postponed, etc. There are lots of banks that are offering up to 6 months deferred mortgage payments. So that means that you don't have a payment, but you're not skipping the payment. You still have to pay all the interest, and it's going to be added to your following payments. So we are told that this will not affect your credit or ability to borrow. Directly from Christy, they told this, and to a couple other family members and close friends. This gives the option to download the benefit to the tenant. So, I mean, I don't know if the tenants are going to pay rent. That's fantastic. I don't know when they're not going to pay rent. And I can tell you right now, my risk is fairly high. If we've got 40, 50, if you have 3 properties, there's no way many of us can afford to pay mortgages on 3 or 4 other properties that you don't live at. There's no, that'd be very expensive, right? So, I don't know how else you would reduce your risk by otherwise doing this. Okay. So, there's been lots of, opinions out there that this should only be used for, in dire straits or emergencies. And I'm like, well, I think this is an emergency personally. Like if 5 of these tenants don't pay rent, like on any unit, then we got a big problem, right? So why not remove the risk, or reduce the risk, reduce the fear, reduce the stress, on both myself and my joint ventures, right? I think it makes sense. So at least it makes sense for us. It doesn't need to make sense for you, but it's really nice that we have the ability. So if let's say we do defer the mortgage payments, again, that doesn't mean that we're not paying. We still have expenses. It's going to be for the rest of the term of the mortgage. This does give you the ability to download the benefit to the tenant. So if the tenant doesn't pay or doesn't have the ability to pay, well, at least you could still cover your costs likely, right? So, let's say for example, your mortgage payment's $1,800, your total expenses are $2,400, $2,500. Well, now you've got a $700 expense. If you have 2 units, charge each unit $350, right? You have the ability to do that, and I'm sure they have the ability to pay that, right? So, I mean, I think this is really where you can make it a win-win, especially if you need to, right? So using for investment properties to prepare for worst case scenario, that's kind of where we're going with these deferred mortgages. So it's very important to understand that different lenders have different policies. So if and this is what I'm told, again, this is not confirmed, but I've seen this a couple times, that if the mortgage is very new, say for an example, like you just bought it 2 months ago or a month ago or 3 months ago, I don't know where the threshold is, but they're saying that you cannot defer that mortgage. Now, I'm not sure. I would verify that yourself. It is not confirmed, but that is hearsay. Okay. So again, interest is still paid, but it's paid at a later date. So what are the banks offering? So again, this isn't the CIBC. I do know for sure they are offering 6 months. There are very few questions asked. They basically asked, who are we? And a few questions to verify our identity. Then they asked, have you applied for bankruptcy or a consumer proposal? The answer was no. And then we simply went through the 6 mortgages or 5 mortgages that we had with them, and they were all deferred for 6 months. And then we asked, we asked questions about whether or not this is going to affect our credit or ability to borrow, and the answer was no. And then we asked, how much is this going to affect the payments going forward? And she said, depending on the mortgage amount, it was going to be anywhere between $25 and $50 per month on all future payments. So, I mean, if I can, I'm still paying for it. If I can mitigate a lot of risk for that, then, to me, that makes a lot of sense. RBC, again, not confirmed by us, but I've seen it a lot, that they are offering 6 months as well with very few questions asked. BMO, I've heard the same. TD, we're unsure, but we do know Scotiabank is not doing this for investment properties as of now. which is very, very frustrating. But I do feel like, I don't know if it's in the next slide, but no, I do feel like this is just, again, complete personal opinion, so don't just use it for what it's worth. But it seems to me, sorry, keep struggling with this. It seems to me like, I feel like there's a chance that they're operating, Scotiabank's operating on an old policy, right? Where they won't let you defer a mortgage payment on an investment property. You know, and I feel like maybe it is coming down the pipe. There was a comment on social media where they did talk to Scotiabank recently and that they would defer, I think, one property or something like that. So we'll see where that goes. You know, that is obvious. We've got a lot of mortgages with Scotiabank ourselves. So we obviously, really want that to come in place. And then there's lots of other lenders, like B lenders, that have been offering it 6 months, like write in emails just saying, hey, we are offering 6-month deferrals. No, it does not affect your credit, does not affect your ability to borrow. Write in an email, right? So, if it's something that would interest you, I totally, the recommendation again here is to call the bank. It seems to me that most of it has to happen over the phone anyway. So, for example, CIBC, we're on hold for 3 hours. So, and that kind of seems to be the going time frame there. So, yeah, I mean, it's well worth it. Look into it. And we, with regards to our joint ventures, we sent an email communication email out the other few days ago, communicating exactly this and recommending that they call the bank and ask for the deferral, and then to update us and with that communication going forward. Okay, deferral. So yeah, next thing is, our property still closing? So the answer is yes. Lawyers are not now allowed to be signed, so they're now allowed to sign digitally. So there is no meetings going on at our lawyers. They're meeting virtually over Zoom or something like this, and then they're signing through DocuSign. Scotiabank is actually allowing some digital signing. I know we've got one closing likely next week, that they actually do require you to meet and sign in person, which I was kind of surprised to hear. So I guess it really depends. I would say, call, if you have something coming up, call the lenders, verify, what the expectation is going forward as to where, are you meeting in person, are you not, etc. Property appraisals, they are happening still. Christy had got notification from the Appraisal Institute of Canada that inspections are to continue, and that it'll be a full exterior inspection, and they will rely on photos from the seller or from the listing, right? So that is another step that is happening going forward. Okay, next up, we're going to have Mr. Chad Woolsey. Chad, I'm going to try to unmute you here, or you can unmute yourself whenever you're ready.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you just fine.
All right, there we are. Can you see me?
I can see you.
Nice, awesome. Some great information, guys. I can see by the comments that everybody's getting some good information and begging for that information that you've shared. So that'll be up to you if you want to share that stuff. Again, my name is Chad Woolsey, real estate agent in Barrie with the Knowles Woolsey team. I just want to take not even a couple of minutes. I think it's important for us to learn exactly what's happening. Typically, as a real estate agent, I'll talk about months back, years back, because it helps us understand exactly what's going on. But again, like Brady's saying, this is completely unheard of. So I thought it was important to share what is exactly going on in the last 7 days, and then I'll bring it down even further to 3 days, and then talk about the future. Now, we really don't understand a whole lot right now, but the last 7 days in Barrie, we've seen 91 new listings. So that's an interesting number. I mean, 7 days is almost too far to go back, because this has been progressing every single day. Like Brady says, before we get off this webinar, it could change again. 68 have sold and 19 price reductions. 19 price reductions are interesting. Prior to a week ago, we were seeing multiple offers, and there wasn't a whole lot of price reductions at all. So that is an indication that the people that really need to sell their house are taking that pretty seriously. Then we're going to break that down a little bit a little bit closer there to 3 days. Now, this is interesting for sure. Last 3 days, there's been 42 new listings, and 34 have sold. Now, I'll caution you on the sold. That could be, 5-day conditions coming up. So now it is firm, but 34 have sold and 6 price reductions. So it's certainly, it's interesting right now. The 34 sold, we'll know soon in the next couple days, weeks, or when we get our numbers for March, what exactly is going on there. But it does appear there is still people putting their house on the market. We don't know what the future is going to hold here. Again, 91 new listings in the last 7 days. So there's a lot of people that do have to put the property on the market. They've already bought somewhere else, so they are pushing to do that. The good thing is, if someone's going to put their property on the market right now, they're probably, the people going through the house are going to be pretty serious buyers and not tire kickers. Now, you guys are all real estate investors, or you're looking for your first one, or maybe your 10th or your 100th. It's important to look at, I'm just talking Barrie for anybody that's not outside of Barrie. 50-year average inflation rate, is 5%. So 2017, it was ridiculous. It was crazy. The last 2 years have been 4 or 5%. This year was actually right on par to be a pretty amazing year. But we don't know what's going to happen. So it's important, though, if you are going to invest in real estate, possibly with BK, that it's a long-term game. And the last 50 years has seen on average of 5%. I think Brady uses 5% or even less in his numbers, getting a return on investment there. So I think that's it's good. There are ups and downs. I mean, it's a long-term game, and you got to stick in there and hold on. But I think you'll agree, it's pretty unknown right now, right, Brady?
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Chad. Appreciate that. Excellent. Okay, so I mean, yeah, it's interesting to see those stats. It's like Chad said, it's it's really going to be interesting to see what does happen. I feel like there's a lot of that stuff might be people that have already sold that have to buy, right? That's a lot of sales right there. But we'll see. Stay tuned, right? So what are we doing to stay sane, right? So what Chrissy and I did, and Kylie, the BKK, we have a quarantine countdown, and this is a bunch of stuff that just reminds us of things, what we can do to keep busy, to keep healthy, right? So we've got our 14, we're in self-quarantine because we were in the United States prior to. So we've got about 10 days left. So personally, what we're doing every day, I'm either trying to run or do a body weight exercise. So is Christy. Healthy eating, we're trying to survive. We're trying not to kill each other, actually. With Kylie, she wants to play. She wants to make forts. We need to work on her popcorn, words, math, jobs around the house, yoga. She likes to do yoga. And, our business, what are we focusing on? We're preparing for the worst case scenario. We want to really employ staff. We want to adapt daily. We want to create opportunity. So we're going to use this time to help educate, real estate investors, people that want to get into real estate investing, that don't know anything about it. We've got some stuff coming up for you that's going to be all free as well. We want to maintain efficiency. We're going to spring clean. We're going to get our boat launched and hopefully the house ready to sell maybe. And anyway, and then we got this really exciting thing over here, the boat launch countdown, 26 days. We're pumped for that. So what are the do's and don'ts that I would recommend, or that we would recommend in today's environment? So, too much social media, I think, there isn't very much positive out there. So, if you, I can tell you right now, if I'm looking at my Facebook too much, then it does emotionally affect me. Too much news, same thing. Only reading headlines, don't do that. The headlines are so misleading. They're there to capture your attention and not to tell the truth. If you read the article inside, then you're generally going to get closer to the truth. Don't panic, don't spread rumors, don't eat crappy food, don't stay up late. All of these things, are going to add to stress. And I mean, I'm really concerned for everybody's mental health. I know a lot of people that get stressed out and worry at the best of times. And I've known, over the last week, I've had moments of, really cooped up stress and slight panic when I start thinking. So I really could only imagine, the people that are more prone to this type of thought, that it's really affecting them. So I know if we do these things, it's not going to help us. So what do we want to do is exercise mind and body. Now, we've got a lot of time at home, whether we're working from home, there's less travel time. We all have the ability to stay active. So this is from this is actually my personal trainer. It's completely free. But what he's done, he was working on this prior to this whole situation. and he just pushed to get it done. So he has $111 value to it. It's completely free. So what he's got set up here, it's an online app. So I'm just telling you this because you guys can have it for free as well. So if it's basically there's an advanced core workout. You can do all of this stuff at your house. Okay. So honestly, take a look at it, download the app. It's completely free. If you use it, great. If somebody else does, great. Give it, share it to all your friends. You can find it right here at this website, www.truestrengthpersonaltraining.com. And it's going to let you get 100% coupon for this. Like you just download it and then you can literally start using it tomorrow. There's a really great online community as well to, whether you need motivation or be held accountable, right? So anyway, that's the tool that I'm using. I work out every other day, like 3 or 4 times a week. And it's not just for my body. It's actually more for my brain and to keep me calm, keep me focused. It removes stress. And I did this all the time before, but I think it's really important for everybody, especially in these times to consider doing something like this. Looking for opportunity to improve is really important. Webinars, podcasts, books, there's lots of, it's insane how much opportunity that we're seeing on social media right now for free stuff, right? Everybody's doing exactly what Rob's done here. It's just like, we're trying to get through this together. So let's support it. Let's make this an educational journey. Look at the positive, look at the things that we can do today to make sure that when we do get out of this, that we have the opportunity to succeed and make back any potential losses that we're going to suffer, right? Verify stories if you're going to be listening to somebody, verify the story before you tell somebody else. Set up business systems. Now is a great time to work on your business and perfect the business. Right? Everybody has extra hours in the day because of, obviously there could be distracted hours because of the children, but nonetheless, there's time here. We can prepare for the future, stay positive is a huge thing, and make sure that we support each other. Right. Okay. So this is what I want to tell you guys. So again, if you're interested in investing in real estate, you want to get started, start learning about it. This was an event that we were going to do with Chad and Julie, the Knowles Woolsey team. We had to cancel it. It's on. And if you did buy a ticket to this, we will be doing refunds on Monday, but we're going to do this completely free now. So we're actually going to do this next Wednesday. And then from there, the following week, I'm going to do a 4-suite educational series and it's going to go deeper into a lot of different topics. Okay. So you're going to really walk out of here with the basics of real estate investing. That's not so basic, right? So you're really going to learn, from us who's kind of figured this out. So what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about how money is made in real estate investing. We're going to talk about goal setting and to lead you to success. We're going to talk about where to get your real estate investing education, how you finance your first or your next deal, how to analyze a property, right? With a pro forma. We're talking about the different strategies, renovations that add value without massive price tag. We're going to talk about joint venture investing, creating second suites, and more. So we're really excited to this. This was a paid event. We had a whole bunch of tickets sold, but we're going to do it completely free next Wednesday at 1:00. So take a note of this this URL right here, lifestylerealestateinvestor.com. You can register right there. And again, tell your friends, there's lots of people are interested in investing in real estate. Now's the time to be educated on it because, maybe now's not the time to buy, but absolutely the time to get educated because it's going to come back and there's going to be some great opportunities in the future. Okay. So before questions, I just want to thank everybody. Thank you for first off showing up to this webinar. I hope everybody got some useful information. We want to thank our entire BK team, all of our staff, all of our joint ventures, our power team of professionals, our lawyers, our bookkeepers, our accountants, all of these types of people, our entire network of other real estate investors, and then obviously the support from our family, friends, and other investors in the community. So first off, we just truly want to say thank you to all of you, especially in these challenging times, and we are definitely here for you guys.